Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Triathlon, a special episode of Talking Triathlon, a podcast where we get together to talk, you've guessed it, about swimming, biking, and running. This week, we are very fortunate to be joined by regular guest. I had so much fun chatting with him about the men's Nice World Championships. I said to Bale, let's get him back on us. Andy Horsford-Turner. Andy, how you going, mate?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks for having me back on. Shows I didn't do too bad a job a couple of weeks back.
And the other man that I have neglected to mention, or I said his name in passing, but is, of course, my regular co-host, James Bale. Jimbo, mate, how you going?
Are you, once we finish recording, you packing up and heading down to Wollongong
I am going to be down there a
or
couple of times
up to
this weekend.
Wollongong? Which
Yeah.
way is it? Down.
Southeast.
Yeah.
Southeast.
Yeah. No, I'm well, mate. I'm well. I am. Rarely do I spend the few days between the weekend and the podcast recording thinking about and looking forward to recording this podcast. I enjoy it when we do it, but I don't normally allocate time in my mind because I'm so busy elsewhere. But
He's
I
lying,
have been
guys. These are
pestered.
lies. That's all he
I've
thinks
been
about.
pestered to do this because we got some shit to talk about, haven't we?
Yeah, T100
I'm
Wollongong. How
still
excited.
tired.
I'm
I'm
so
still
excited.
tired from the weekend
The
because it
anticipation of
was
T100 Wollongong is just getting him ramped up. That's what he's been wait, desperate to talk about. He's like, yes, I can't wait to talk
it's
about
it's
T100.
all I'm thinking about. Honestly, man, I felt like I'd had a workout watching that race. It was we haven't started yet. I don't know whether we've started yet or not,
Who
but I
cares?
was
You
emotional.
definitely jumped the gun, but carry on.
Doesn't sound like James. Um, it's the only race I think I can remember in living memory where at the end of it, like I was sitting next to my wife and I held out my hand and my hand was actually shaking. Like I was that amped up from the finish. I've never, yeah, I've never experienced that either. Probably the closest thing for me would be the Olympics last year in
Mm.
Paris when
Yeah,
Guy
the
passed
crash
wild.
I
But
had after Hayden didn't win was a
yeah,
similar level of emotional surge. But fuck me,
It
what a
was, yeah.
race!
how good's
I had a
triathlon?
similar I had a similar experience to you both, but I stayed up to the early hours watching it on my own. And then in the morning, my wife, who other than watching me race triathlon, has no interest in triathlon. I'm there on Instagram showing her the reel of Taylor Knibb and Lucy, and I'm like, explaining what happened, and she's just like, I really don't care. But even she showed a hint of caring, so it must have been a good race.
And that's where the Patreon group comes in so handy because it's a group of like-minded people who all understand. But there was a point at about 2:15 on Sunday morning where it was just like, oh my God, wow, oh my God, we lost all coherence. There was no conversational structure in the group anymore. It was just people needing to vent their reaction to what they were seeing.
Well, for me, it was so it was like pretty good time, and I think I woke up the bike. They were probably halfway through the bike because I think it started about 2:30 a.m. Australia time. I'm not that keen. Thank you very much. But I know that once Lucy passed Taylor, we'll unpack it all, but just that once Lucy passed Taylor going up Palani, I actually put it on my iPad and I started to play my Nintendo because I'm playing again. And I was like playing this game, and it's quite intense game. And then I can't remember what I looked, and suddenly they were back together. I'm like, what the fuck? And I like was dying on my game. I was like, okay, this isn't working. I think I turned the Nintendo back off, put it back on the television, and was enthralled for the
Yeah,
next. Yeah,
enthralled is the word, isn't it? I
yeah.
haven't had a race enthrall me like that and sort of I was so into it. Normally, triathlon is a sport that you can do another activity whilst paying attention to it. It's a bit like having a test match on in the background. Every moment now and again there's a moment of brilliance, but there's a lot of tension building and scene setting. And this wasn't that. This had me because I there was a moment, we'll like you said, we'll unpack it in a minute, but there was a moment when Lucy was in the lead um, solidly. And I thought, well,
Game
that's
over.
It's
how it
done,
is.
yeah. It's done, yeah,
That's
yeah,
how it is.
100%.
I won't need to pay much more attention to this. And then it was later in the evening that I finished doing what I'd been doing for the evening and switched it on, and all had changed. And suddenly I did nothing but sit on the couch and
I
watch
just,
that
but
with
I
Red
why,
Bull. I was
why
drinking Red Bull.
but James, why be so vague? Like this is what I never understand about getting you on the podcast. Like doing what I was doing when everybody knows you were sitting there doing your T100 Wollongong picks. Like, come on, just admit it, mate. Just admit you're a huge fanboy for what's
Yeah, I had
happening
my
in Wollongong
T100
this week.
t-shirt on, T100 hat, T100 mug. All,
you're still wearing your tri suit from London.
yeah, yeah.
He never gets out of it, mate. He says he hates it, but he actually sleeps in it. So
I
look,
only take it off to record the podcast to
well,
maintain the illusion.
we do let's do some housekeeping, guys. If you like the thought of that WhatsApp group, now I spoke to a few people, James, and I think we've reached there's WhatsApp displays a maximum of 999 messages on like as a notification, and several people said that when they either woke up or came back to their phones during Kona on the weekend, there was over 1,000 messages in that WhatsApp group going. It was absolutely pumping. So if you want access to that WhatsApp group, I absolutely loved being in there over the weekend, but as well as other things, we're going to do a bonus episode about this race in a couple of days. Head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. $5 a month gets you access to that and a whole bunch of other things. Let's get into it. Our 2025 Ironman World Championships female Kona race starts now. Andy, you've got the results there. Do you want to go through the results?
Yeah, I guess we could just basically run through maybe like the top 10,
Yep.
and then we can maybe like deep dive into how the race actually played out. But yeah, first place was Solveig Løvseth. I've definitely pronounced that wrong.
What would
Second
you
place, Cat Matthew.
that's one
Solveig?
thing
Tim's the
was
man for this.
now in the WhatsApp group
Solveig?
we were joking, yes, Solveig Løvseth, but in the WhatsApp group we were all doing like everybody doesn't know how to pronounce Benedict Cumberbatch's name and it's like Bandersnatch, Kumquat and so what was one of the best ones I saw was somebody said Sauvignon Blanc Seth. That one made me absolutely lose my mind. I thought that was so funny, but yeah, we were all being like different funny ways to pronounce the name. But yeah, Solveig Løvseth, not Solvi. Yeah, Solveig Løvseth. Yes,
Oh,
number one.
we're gonna leave that one to you for the rest of the episode now.
That's fine. Jeg snakker norsk.
Um, Cat Matthews second, Laura Phillips third. And then we had Hannah Berry fourth, Lisa Pertra fifth, Holly Lawrence sixth, Jocelyn McCauley seventh, Sarah Sphinx in eighth, and German Leonie Kalla?
James, you're our German
Uh,
expert.
Konkala?
Konzala, I think,
Konzala? And then in 10th
as the
place,
resident German
Marlene
expert.
de Boer, just to round out the top 10. Um, but yeah, where do you want to go, guys? Do you want to go straight
Well, I mean,
from the
we've got to
go?
do a bit of a breakdown of the race and how it happened, really, haven't we? And then we've got to think about our thoughts on the race. Um, the swim, I was paying attention, but I wasn't that engaged early on in the swim because I was doing what I was doing with my T100 worship ritual. So, Andy, how was the swim to you, mate? As our resident swim expert, being that you are possibly the fastest swimmer in men's triathlon, how do you think the swim shook out?
Yeah, no, kind of exactly how many kind of thought. I think Lucy Charles-Barclay was the out and out favorite swimmer. And I think the talk before the event was whether kind of like a Taylor Knibb or someone would be able to, really dig in and try and jump on her feet. I watched one of Lucy's videos about a week before the World Champs, and she was doing some absolutely monster swim sets, 6, 7K sessions, um, you know, 2100s best average long course meters. She was I thought she would be in very good swim form, and she definitely proved that. I thought what was really interesting was where everyone started on the start line. And there's always seems to be, even though the shortest line is starting on the right hand side and following the boys, there always seems to be this big bunch to the left. And I've never actually swam in Kona, but from what people have been saying, there must be some kind of current that kind of maybe drags a little bit, and that far left side kind of gets people out a little bit quicker.
There is, yeah.
So that's where Lucy was. Gun went, and you kind of saw Taylor and a couple of others really try for 50 meters, maybe 100 meters. But Lucy literally, when they say that you got to kind of snap that elastic band, there was kind of like no elastic band from the get-go. She just absolutely tore it. And yeah, no surprise, she got away quite cleanly. I think it was quite interesting then to see how the groups formed behind. And what was really, I guess, like interesting to see was that Haley Chura, Holly Lawrence, Taylor Knibb, Rebecca Clark, Lottie Wilms, and Chelsea Sodaro, that group of like five people managed to keep the gap to like 90 seconds, which actually I don't think's too bad. The way that Lucy went out the gates at the beginning, I thought they were going to be 3 to 5 minutes behind. But they did swim really strong after that initial kind of surge. And then I guess the biggest, not again, not really a surprise, but the contenders who you think are going to win this race, you thought like kind of people like Laura Phillip, Kat Matthews, they were like 6.5 minutes back. And to me, especially in this modern era of racing, like if you're 6 minutes back out of the water, and maybe it's biased because I'm obviously coming from like the men's side of the sport where you can't give that deficit away. But you were definitely looking at that deficit that they had and thinking they're on the back foot.
Oh, 100%. Like I was very much expecting, I don't think I expected the gaps to maybe be that big. Kat's swimming has come along a lot, I think, in recent years. When she first stepped up, what are we talking, 2021, 2022 period, there was like a weakness in the swim, I'd say, a bit more of a bike runner. And that seems to have been neutralized for me with Kat Matthews in recent years. Like, I think she's become obviously she's not a Lucy Charles, but she's, in races like Texas or whatever, she's not going to be, minutes and minutes and minutes back. Like, yes, okay, a little bit, but yeah, I saw that gap. I was like, oh God, these ladies have not made their life very easy. But interestingly, just looking at the results here, to see that, wow, first, second, and third all got out of the water within, what are we talking, 10 seconds of each other. So they're all 55-40, 55-43, 55-50. Like, so they were quite closely grouped together. And I think, as we'll get to, it also then shows the significance of what Solveig did on the bike later. Yeah, I honestly thought it was game over after the swim. Like, I just went, no, that gap is not coming down. It's too much, knowing that Taylor and that are going to be in the front. I'm jumping ahead again. Sorry, but yeah, the gap was
But
significant out of the water.
I completely agree. And I think you see kind of two front runners in Lucy and Taylor being, in pole position. And you know that Taylor's going to ride really, really well. Lucy's going to do her thing that she's done numerous times before. It just felt like they were shutting the door, only 50 minutes into the swim,
Yeah.
50 minutes into like an 8+ hour race. And you felt like almost you might as well just like hand out the medals now.
Mm.
But I guess, yeah, that's Ironman.
I think the biggest surprise for me in the swim, I guess when I woke up, checked the swim results, was Chelsea Sodaro's time. Like, I was very excited to see. So when I woke up, Chelsea hadn't withdrawn yet. So I saw Chelsea's gap was only, she's 90 seconds back or something out of the swim. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
significant. I thought, fuck, that's a good swim for Chelsea. And I've had this thought, I think I've said it on other shows, where, because she has been quite quiet this year, and she seemed, all the content she was pushing out pre-race, she seemed to be in quite a positive place. I thought we could see Chelsea do something special. And I thought that swim result was like, okay, cool, we could be on here for something. Suddenly I have to push Chelsea up in my predictions a little bit more, but ultimately it wasn't the case.
No, yeah, like I agree. I completely agree there. And also like when you think of someone like Chelsea and how she won back in 2022, I think is the year she won, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
She she did it by kind of being in contention all day and then just weaponizing the run.
Mm.
And when you see that she already had a 5 minute, 4.5, 5 minute lead on, the other runners in Kat and Laura Phillip, you're instantly thinking like she can not soft pedal the ride, but she can kind of give a bit away on the bike like she,
Yeah.
normally would, and still potentially roll into T2 in a position to potentially fight for the win, which I got pretty excited about that, I think, as well.
Yeah.
It definitely felt like there was avenues for Chelsea to win.
And that's the thing, right? Like, for we've obviously talked about the high we've had of Nice, and then you come to a race like Kona. Kona is a race where you get the groups form. You have these big packs, and they do tend to stick together. And I know we've had in many races in the past where it's actually becomes a bit of an issue. Like, when they hit the bump up to Harvey, there's suddenly the issue of actually trying to maintain the gaps because of slowing down. So for an athlete like Chelsea, who maybe does have that sort of weakness on the bike, not that she's a weakness, but it is
She's
a
still a
race
very
where
good cyclist, yeah.
exactly, but it's a race where you do see these good packs that can. I mean, look again, Chelsea and Kat and not yeah, Chelsea and Kat and Laura. The packs do tend to stay together. So yeah, for me, I thought yeah, Chelsea's on here, and again,
Yeah,
I
same,
didn't expect the other
same.
people that
Not
were
that far
around her,
down.
yeah, to literally necessarily impact the race later on, but spend enough time together that even if it meant that when Kat and Laura eventually did ride up and catch, she'd be in a position to be able to hold on or go with as well. Yeah, honestly, I'll be honest, and I know we're sort of now moving on to the bike. I was disappointed to see Chelsea DNF, and I hope everything is okay. I I hope it is just a GI issue or something because it sounds like she was struggling to keep food down and vomiting a bit. I hope it was just that because I have liked to see her steady improvement. You know, she won the race and then sort of had a bumpy road. And I hope this isn't a sort of regression. I hope we continue to see her take strides back to being a maybe another world champion. So yeah, well done, Chelsea. Jimbo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was looking at people like after the swim, I was looking at someone like Holly Lawrence, who wasn't that far down, and thinking, well, this could be a day where she's going to be in a good position. But like you guys, I thought the scene was set. I thought with Lucy Charles-Barclay doing what she done, Taylor being not far behind, being the sort of biker that she is, I thought she's going to be able to bike up through. She's probably maybe going to make the catch, maybe just going to be there or thereabouts, and then we're going to have a sort of standardish marathon where they were just going to run to their ability, and we were going to see Lucy Charles-Barclay win the race, do a sort of gun to tape type thing. I wasn't expecting for what happened to happen. I think I did go back and listen to our podcast pre-race, Tim, and
Hmm.
between us, if you very carefully pick some of the elements of what we said, between us, we kind of picked this was going to happen,
Uh,
just without the
I
winner.
can I jump in there now? I actually listened to that podcast. I know late, very late after the race, but I listened to it this morning, and in about the last 10 minutes, James actually predicted something going wrong for Lucy Charles Barkley.
I think from memory, didn't we say that? Because I know what we did, I can't really remember, but we were talking about what scenario it would take for the different favorites to win. And I
Yeah.
think I did say for Cat, because I honestly, yeah, anyway, we'll get to it. But I think I said for Cat Matthews to win the race, there needs to be a blow up of one of those athletes up the road. I
Mm.
thought I saw that as like,
We both had Solveig Løvseth as a wild card.
what was it? Who?
And yeah, yeah, all
Who?
right. All right. You lived in Norway.
Calm
Give me
down,
a
Greg
Team
Welsh.
break.
Norway, Team Norway,
Calm,
Team Norway.
calm down, Greg Welsh, will you?
Um, and both of us, well, you didn't say that Lucy Charles-Barclay wouldn't win, but I think I said I can't see it happening for Lucy Charles-Barclay. I think there's going to be a problem, and I don't think it's going to be Taylor's year. I wasn't expecting to get as close as she fucking did, if I'm
Mm.
honest. But fucking hell.
Well, look, let's talk about we've spoken about the swim, but sort of dealing with the bike a little bit. Um, Surprising things on the bike for me. I'm surprised that Solveig rode away from the group with Cat Matthews and Laura Phillip. That to me was surprising. Again, knowing the bike strength that Cat Matthews has had, I think it was in Ironman Texas where she rode an almost identical bike split Taylor Knibb. She's always a very, very strong cyclist. So to see her sort of, we're talking like 10 minutes slower than some of those other women.
Yeah, I mean, her
Like,
bike was 8 minutes, just over 8 minutes slower than Cat, than Solveig's. Um,
was it?
yeah, that is surprising because her bike kind of matches Laura Phillips, which is a big surprise for me. I thought Cat would would find her strength and power on the bike, put the hammer down, but maybe the fact that she didn't have those bike legs, I mean, she said herself post race that she didn't have the legs on the bike. Maybe that is what paid dividends for her on the um, on the run and
There.
gave her that ability to go as deep as she did on that run. Because maybe let's say she pushes a bit harder on the bike um and gains what, an extra 3 minutes or something. I don't know.
35
Like,
seconds.
yeah, well, What would that have done to her run though? Would she have gone as far as she did in the run? Because her run was spectacular compared to others.
I got the impression from watching the race because at this point, and again, I've no insight. I've not spoken to any of those athletes pre-race, but I got the impression that Laura and Kat almost thought it was a race between the two of them a little bit because they seemed much more interested in what each other was doing rather than the race that was happening 10 minutes up the road. And again, hindsight is a wonderful thing. It obviously worked out for both of them. But in the moment, I thought, are these two racing the race or are they racing each other? Because they don't seem interested in the women that are 10 minutes up the road. Like, I don't know whether it was a case of them going, fucking hell, the gap is too big. We can't catch that. Let's just focus on each other. Or if they genuinely believed that they need to pace it themselves and the people at the road might have something go wrong. I don't know. Because to me, I was watching it going, and even in the pre-race, like all the stuff they were saying pre-race, it very much seemed it was like Kat and Laura were more worried about Kat and Laura than Taylor or Lucy or anybody else. Um, I don't know. Did you guys pick up on that as well, or?
But
Yeah,
I was gonna
possibly.
say, yeah, I definitely saw that. I think the kind of remarks that were made in like the press conferences before the races was a little bit like I don't know the exact wording, but basically that Laura would have to work, and like I think people have kind of looked at their previous race in Hamburg and thought that maybe Kat had done more work on the bike, and obviously Laura then had the better of her on the run. So I think um, I feel like maybe they were trying to create some pressure for Laura to have to play more of a kind of a demand a leading role on the bike. Um, but actually, what was really interesting, and I know we said that we were surprised that the gaps were so big, and I was watching the race and messaging with pro triathlete Josh Lewis, um, and I mentioned that saying I'm surprised that Kat and Laura are so far behind, and he sent me a screenshot of the Harvey turn from 2023 and 2025, and Lucy and Taylor near enough have identical times. So I think Lucy was maybe 60 seconds behind where she was in 2023, and Taylor Knibb was about 30 seconds further up than she was. But the interesting thing was then the gap to Laura Phillip was 14 minutes in 2023, but it was only
Wow.
11 and a half at this point in
Okay.
in 2025. So Josh has said, no, Laura and Kat are riding, and Kat obviously DNF'd at that point in the race 2 years before. So he said, oh no, Laura and Kat are riding really well.
Yeah, but Laura was 2 minutes further back out of the water in 2023 as well. Don't forget, she was seven over
Ah,
seven
okay.
minutes. She was
So
seven over seven
maybe a
minutes
very
down.
similar, maybe a
Yeah,
very similar ride then.
that is
So
one
it's
thing
not
because
like they're having a
yeah,
bad day. Yeah.
yeah, consider that's that. I think Cat's the Laura. Yeah, I can get that. I think the Cat is the biggest
Yeah. But also, it
surprise for
goes
me.
back to what you said at the start, Tim, where on a race like this, you see big groups form, and that's kind of maybe what happens when you're not stuck in a group, but that's the group you're in. It would take a monumental individual effort to ride
Like
away
Solveig
from a group.
Løvseth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, exactly. And but she was riding exactly, and look what happened. It
Did you
worked.
see
It
her
worked out.
comments? Did you see her talking about the group where she was basically saying she took a turn on the front and she thought I better put the pressure down and then I need to work on the front of the group and she turned around and she dropped them. She's like, oh, I guess I'll keep going. I loved that.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Harvey though, Andy, what you mentioned, I think that was another moment for me where, you know, look, the on-screen stuff I thought was pretty good with this race, to be honest. Let's not talk about the commentary too much, but I was very surprised to see how suddenly Taylor came up on Lucy Charles. Like the gap was about a minute according to the tracker and everything that was showing on screen. And they get to Harvey and fucking Taylor Nibb's right behind, like
Yeah.
literally right behind Lucy. That was a real like, oh shit, like was not expecting that. And to me, that was like, okay, we have like this is a race now. This is sort of what I'd seen things happening. So she must have absolutely drilled going up Harvey. And then I was like you were talking with Josh, I was chatting with Joe. And Joe said it could also just be aerodynamics. He said that maybe Lucy's a lot more aero than Taylor, which isn't as important going up that climb. So maybe it's the opportunity for Taylor just to push, maybe her effort's the same. It's just that the aero becomes less because you're climbing rather than that flat long drags out on the Queen K. But yeah, that to me was a real like, oh shit moment during the race.
Any
It
kind of
was.
takes from?
Yeah,
Sorry,
go
yeah.
ahead, Andy. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say, was there any kind of takes that the sort of the cyclists that I thought were going to be really strong pre-race, people like Lisa Purterer, um, I kind of thought she may have had maybe a more, I don't know how to phrase it, but maybe just ridden a little bit more. It kind of seemed that she was a little bit in that group, a bit like James said, maybe kind of stuck in the group, or maybe, tactically thinking that this group was the group that she needed to stay with to have her best result overall. And, she did finish fifth in the end, so it's not a bad result. But I actually, in chatting to James and a few others pre-race, she was my pick for potentially sneaking on the podium.
Same for
Um,
me.
I just don't think I don't think she really utilized her bike, would be my
I
kind of take.
look, obviously it's very easy to say this about a woman who comes fifth in Hawaii, but I was maybe a little disappointed with Lisa's performance just because I think I expected more. You're right. It felt like, I mean, one of the things I've heard a lot of people say about the broadcast is that they didn't do a very good job of showing what was happening in the rest of the field. And I can, up until, halfway through the run, I think they were doing a great job of showing the top five, and then it's just that the top five changed very suddenly. And you're right, there's athletes who were further down who didn't get that screen time. But, you know, I felt like she was kind of invisible all day, to be honest. Like I never really heard anything. She didn't seem to really be impacting the race at all. Never really saw her on the front of any time they'd go back to the pack. You never really see her on the front. She sort of drifted back quite quickly on the run, which I didn't expect. So yeah, I agree. I think there's several athletes that I think expected to see probably ride stronger, that just didn't. And I think it is right. A lot of them were talking to also like first or second time Kona athletes. They're probably in that pack. Everybody talks about the heat. From all reports, it was actually quite hot as well. I think they're probably just like, fuck it, I'm not risking it. Let's just stay. I don't want to overheat. I mean, I heard Kat saying that was a big factor too. I reckon it was probably a bit of, yeah, let's play it safe a little bit.
I think
But yeah, completely fair enough. Yeah.
she
And
lost about 35 seconds worrying about the heat with her helmet, didn't she?
Fucking
Wow.
hell, I
it's
know.
but I genuinely don't think, I don't think you can just move time around like that, because I think even if she
I
didn't
know.
have
I
that,
know you can't. I
if
know
she
you
didn't
can't.
have that helmet related issue, she would have still ended up in that lower pack, and I don't think anything would have changed, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, no, nothing would have changed. Nothing would have changed. It's
Do
just
you, you know what I think is probably maybe, and again, hindsight is one of the most significant moments of this race, though, was Lucy getting the littering penalty. Now, I know that obviously she blew up in the energy lab, but I think there's a case to be made that that littering penalty could have sort of thrown the plan out the window a little bit, because we saw her obviously get the penalty. And again, I just struggle to understand why they bother with that stuff. I can understand if it's intentional or something, but if a flimsy water bottle they give you in Hawaii falls out the back of your pop, why? We every year we say the
yeah,
same
yeah.
thing, but I
I
wonder.
could not agree more. Just
Yeah.
let the race continue happening as it's happening. For fuck's sake.
Because we then saw her sort of pull up to Taylor. I'm assuming let her know what was happening and try to drill it. I just wonder if that, firstly, the stress, so the impact on your actual heart rate and stuff like that, anxiety levels, whatever, but then her drilling it and I guess just breaking the rhythm. I wonder if that's why we saw, I don't know, but I think it was definitely a factor as to why we saw what happened later in the race. So I felt like at the time it didn't seem that big a deal because she got back on, the gap ended up being fine anyway. But I think that if you actually, I mean,
Are you saying it affected both of them?
no, just Lucy. Just
Just
Lucy.
Lucy. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
You're
just
not
Lucy.
saying because Lucy got a littering penalty, Taylor drilled it more than she should have done as a result of that.
I mean, maybe, but I think that, I mean, the gap pretty much held consistent, right? Where it was about 90 seconds. And I think that's if you
Yeah.
actually take in the stop in and everything starting again, it was 90 seconds and it stayed at 90 seconds. So they rode pretty consistent. It's not like Taylor absolutely put in a huge dig, but I do wonder if that penalty might have ruffled Lucy's feet and just, yeah, shaken things up a little bit, maybe caused a bit of panic in her head. I mean, I don't know, but I felt personally like that was quite a significant and unnecessary moment, to be honest. Andy?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. What was interesting, just like listening to you guys talk about that, was just kind of thinking about the dynamic and the point of the race where Lucy had the penalty as well. At that point, the gap was pretty ridiculously big to everyone else in the field, and I'm trying to think of like how both of them must be kind of like thinking about the race now? Did they both feel like it was a two-horse race? Did they think it's like, right, it's either you or me who are winning this world championship,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
kind of like that focus on
Tunnel
that one
vision.
individual
Tunnel
athlete?
vision.
Yeah. And
But also, I
Taylor,
mean, we're burying the
sorry, I was
lead.
just
Fuckers.
yeah,
Let's
I was
talk
just gonna
about the bit
say,
we want to talk about.
yeah, so
It's
we'll get there, but I think Taylor knew that if her and Lucy got off the bike together, that Lucy would win the race. And I think that Taylor had to have a gap. And I don't know if if Lucy having the penalty was a good thing for Taylor, and if Taylor had actually just tried to drop Lucy, if Taylor had maybe might have blown up earlier in the marathon, would be maybe my take.
Mm.
Because she was able, because Lucy stopped, to just carry on riding consistently to
and get that
T2
gap
with that gap.
without
Yeah.
having to drill it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really interesting way of looking at it because then she was able to start that run with the gap that she had without really having to go that deep to get it. Obviously, they're working very hard, but she didn't go over and above probably because she knew the penalty had given her that slight gap. Lucy then catches her on the run, and we all go, "Oh, race over."
Yeah.
Don't we? Didn't we? We all went, "Oh, well, that's that then. I'll go and put
No,
the kettle
let's
on or open
let's
another
let's
Red Bull."
let's rewind just a little bit more because yeah, okay, they come in on the bike, they're out on the run. I think the first signs of concern for me with Lucy on the run was when she started stopping to fix her shoes because she stopped several times on the
Yes.
Leahy
Yeah, yeah.
Drive to fix it. And man, I went like panic mode straight away. I was like, Jesus Christ, no, 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 like no, 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 no. Um, I don't think it was obviously the ultimate issue, but that to me also showed she's not comfortable. She's not like if she's stopping several times to adjust shoes and things like that, something hasn't. And again, this is
Yeah.
also kind of what makes me
Something's not
factor
clicked
in.
quite right.
Yeah,
Do do you,
maybe the penalty as well. Like I don't know, just she's not where she needs to be.
but I think I don't I completely someone please tell me if I'm completely wrong here, but I'm sure there's something with regards to that heat exhaustion and feet swelling.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's what
sure
I said.
exactly the medical side of it, but I'm sure that to me, the shoes may have fit perfectly, but if she was already getting to a point where she was getting heat exhausted, maybe her feet had just expanded to the point where they were causing her issues.
Mm,
And maybe that was the sign of actually the heat had already got her then.
yeah, it's
That's yeah,
Dr.
I could be
fucking
wrong there.
Andy steps up.
but you're right. We've buried the lead. It's time to get into to it. This
Yeah,
is what
okay.
made this race.
Exactly.
Um,
This is what made this race. And now, before we get into this, I want to say I thought, naively probably, that the days of seeing blow ups to this level were behind us. In
Mm.
this kind of, in the kind of the vein of a Paula Newby Fraser type blow up, that kind of thing. I thought those days were gone until I saw this race. Watching Nice was an exceptional race, but for very different reasons. This was a race where the conditions stepped in and went poof and just fucking exploded the place. And it was remarkable because Lucy overtakes Taylor on the run. And then I can't remember who I was talking to. It was probably in the Patreon group. But I said, I think she's starting to. There was showing a profile shot. And when you can subconsciously see when someone's not running as comfortably as they are without really consciously being able to see what's changed in front of you. It was that kind of moment where I was like, something's, it's not quite as fluid as it was. And within 10 minutes of that, she'd started to falter.
well, it's interesting because for me, the Queen K run section was a real roller coaster because yeah, she starts to stop the aid stations and you're like, fuck. But
Yeah.
then the weirdest part about this, and this continued all the way into the energy lab, was even after she'd been real wobbly, which, by the way, I just want to get. I obviously never want to see athletes in distress like that. It was very hard to see both Taylor and Lucy in as much distress. I just want to get that out of the way.
Oh,
But
100%. Yeah.
the weird thing with Lucy was that every time she'd start running again, she would instantly look fantastic again. So
Remarkable.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was this thing where you're like, oh, is she fucked? Oh no, she's
yeah.
good.
Oh,
She's
she's
just
back again. Yeah.
Is that
and
muscle
this
memory though? Is that muscle memory where you can just your body just goes, well, this is how you run? Because I've never been in that. I've never been in that level of discomfort or distress before in a race. Um, I've never had heat exhaustion. And like you say, I'll second that. We never want to see athletes to that level of distress, but all we're here to do is commentate on what we saw and the
Yeah.
race that we saw unfold in front of us. Um, if I could push a button and make it so that none of them were like that, then I would. But they were, and that's what we saw play out. So yeah, like you say, she would walk an aid station and then start to look wobbly, need a sponge, need some ice or whatever, and then instantly start running, and
Go again.
everybody would go, "Oh no, she looks cool. She's
No,
back, running exactly as
until
she should."
Reese pulled her off the course, and we'll talk about it. I honestly thought she'd still catch Taylor. Like she looked so good every time she'd start running again. I was convinced, no, she's going to get it into, she's going to get a core temperature down. She's going to get a nutrition shot, and then she's going to be fine. Like honestly, that's how much, I guess, denial I was maybe in. But like because how good she looked every time she ran, and there was a point I think down in the energy level where she ran because she was walking every aid station, and the gap was out to about a minute 50, I think, and she ran an aid station, and I thought, oh, she's back. Okay, we're good now. She's whatever. She's got the core temperature down. She's got top of nutrition. She's back, and it was then she was fucked. But I genuinely was convinced that she'd still catch Taylor just
Yeah,
because of how goddamn good she looks when she was running. It was yeah, it was crazy.
And she's
and
got
that's
history on her
the
side.
thing with these races, isn't it? Each athlete's got their own support crew, got their own people sort of there with them. The race has got a medical contingency, but each athlete's crew will make their own decisions for them. And Reese made the right decision at the right time, I think.
I think, yeah, I think it was a difficult one as well because she's, Lucy's, world champion in Kona, 4 times second place, and she's shown in previous iterations of the race that she's had not maybe not wobbles to the same degree, but she's had bouts of, on the run where she was struggling. And I think it was the maybe like the 21 or 22 world champs where she actually repassed, 2019 even, where she repassed to get back into second after she'd been basically run down by, was it Sarah Crowley? I think it might have been
Yes.
Sarah Crowley
Yeah,
that
I think it
year.
might have, she was third that year, yeah.
So I kind of had this belief that, actually, as Tim kind of said, she was looking so good in between. She maybe went through an aid station. You're like, oh, she's controlled this. Um, maybe she does have it in her to kind of rally. Um, but I think, ultimately, Reese is the person that spends 365 days a year with her. He obviously is seeing the same signs we're seeing. And he's got a much better understanding for what is going on. Like he'll be able, I know we said that, oh, she still looked great running between aid stations. He'll be able to tell, what is great and what's not. And the amount of time he's spent running with her or behind her, um,
Yeah.
he knows what she should be able
Yeah,
to
and
do. And I think he had to make
ultimately,
that decision.
some of those video shots we saw where she's staggering,
Hmm.
that's a point in my mind where someone's gone beyond when they should be on a race course anymore.
You say that. Sorry.
Yeah, the only
Karen.
addendum I'll say to that, and this is more from personal experience rather than watching it, but in 2022, when I was there supporting Joe, that was the point in the race, like going into the energy lab and stuff, where Joe was starting to struggle quite badly, and we were quite worried about Clement Mignon that coming from behind. And I know it was Joe coming out of the energy lab again, where Christian had also, where Gustav had made the move on Christian, just as they come up and turn left to go back out of the energy lab, and Joe got the big piece of ice and shoved it down his shirt, and the cooling, he almost negative split that run because he got his core temp under control. I think that's was in the back of my mind with Lucy and yeah, the wobbles. It was bad, but I still felt like it looked like a heat thing, not a point of no return in the sense that if she did get it under control, I thought she might. And again, plus the fact that she was running the way she was, I felt like I think it was just the parallels for me. It was like same spot as Joe in 2022. I could see a pathway back from this point.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, it must have been a really difficult decision to make.
The right
Um,
decision though.
add the difficult, yeah, the right decision without question. But add that to the fact that we all know that when you're in a race scenario, the first thing that starts to go is your decision making because
Mm.
and your ability to count, and do maths and stuff like that because your body starts to leach sugar from your brain. Um, you he's got to make that. He made that call, and it was exactly the right decision to call. So then we get to the point where Lucy's out the race, and all of us go, "Oh, race over then," Taylor's got this.
Mm. And
Because it
I
looked
would,
like she while this was all happening, she was running, looking comfortable, looking she wasn't going as fast as Lucy had been at certain stages, but she was just looking like she was doing the job.
Well, this was the great contrast between the two of them, right? Is I feel like with Lucy, it was this extended, drawn out period of struggle, and to the point when Reese pulled her off, I was like, thank God. Like it felt like Reese gave Lucy permission almost. Not that he did, but it was like she needed somebody to basically make the decision for her. And I just want to shout out Reese. I have a lot of time and respect for Reese Barclay, and I thought he did it exceptional. The contrast though with Taylor is Taylor looked so great until like it was honestly so quick how she went from being comfortable to fucked. Like
it was that
it
one
was the
aid
complete
station,
opposite.
literally. Yeah.
Yeah. And so close. And again, when you know the
So
course, it's
right.
so close as well. Like,
So why like I need to ask Andy this question really, because I mean, we've never raced pro triathlon. So Andy, you are Taylor. Put yourself in that position. You've got however many minutes on second place. You know Lucy's just pulled out the race. You've got 3 to 5K to go before you get to the finish line and become world champion. Is there a version of that where she could have shut it down and run 20, 30 seconds a K slower and that not happen to her? Because I don't know. I don't know. Because in my head, I was thinking, well, if it was the
the
same
second
thing,
Lucy
this
pulled out,
the
she should have done
sentiment,
that.
just
The
shut
thing,
it
the
down
thing,
and be like, right, I'm going to run however many minutes a K until I get to the finish. Or would that is that not an option at that point? Because you've expended so much energy anyway, you're such a deficit. You're just like whether you're running
yeah,
that speed or that speed, you're just as fucked.
it's a couple of things that I think the main thing is that the race isn't won. And I think it's easy to see like a 4 minute gap or whatever and think, day done. And it's as a spectator, it always is. But when you are in the race, you really don't believe a gap until you see the finishing shoot, you know?
Yeah.
So she may know she has 4 minutes, say to Silva, who was behind her, but she knows that if she backs off too much, she allows that, you know, you've only got to give an athlete who's chasing from behind like, a 1%
Sniff.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they get a little sniff, then the tables can turn quickly. So I think that's the one thing is Taylor would have known that, and that's why she knows the race isn't won yet. And I think the second thing as well from that perspective is that once you are that late into an Ironman, you kind of find a pace or a rhythm that means that you can run, and there's no kind of slowing it down or speeding it up, really. You kind of just do what you've got, and like you're
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
giving everything you've got, but also the only difference between giving that is walking. Like you either run or you
Yeah.
don't.
That's kind
And
of
I
my
think
that was my question really. It was like at that point of a race, you've probably got running or not
mm,
running.
Yeah, but
and I
That's
think
probably
I,
about it.
I would even say though, and this is why I think you look back to when Chelsea won and Chelsea's race to me was so impressive, is because she had the gap and she knew it, but she had the confidence in her run that she would slow down at the aid stations and she would take the time to cool down and she would fuel properly. Where I don't know if because I think what you're saying, James, is by the point that she was fucked, it's way too late. Like she would have had to start
yeah,
making
yeah.
those changes probably as she came out of the energy lab. To be
Yeah.
honest,
I'd
I
say
think
even earlier. I'd say I
yeah.
literally as her and Lucy were having a tussle on the way out to the energy lab. I think that's where you look at the gap behind you and go, well, actually, if we're going to absolutely kill each other if we carry on like this. And it kind of panned out that way in the
You
end.
can also understand the panic
Um,
going, fuck, she's struggling. I've got to go now. Like you can understand that sort of need to put the knife in a little bit, I suppose. But
yeah, and
um,
also if you saw like when Lucy started to falter, Lucy was walking that aid station and Taylor kept running the aid stations. And again, I might be wrong on this, but from what I remember watching, the first aid station that Taylor walked was the one where she started wobbling.
mm,
And from my experience, if you've been running for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, and you've been going through this kind of rhythm, and then you suddenly walk for the first time. I've had it in Ironmans where you're just like, actually, it's 20 miles into the Ironman, I'm gonna walk this aid station, make sure I get lots of fuel in. You go to walk and you do feel wobbly, like your legs are
mm.
buckled, your head's a little bit dizzy, you're low on carbs. It's quite normal to have a little bit of a wobble, but it just amazed me the 0 to 100 of like she did seem like she was starting to slow, but as soon as she walked, that's almost like there was a light switch in her brain who just went done. Like straight
Yeah.
away, then it was like you're done. Sorry.
This to
Mm,
me was the hardest thing to watch during the race. I found this like
yeah.
the initial like fuck this means a lot for the race, and then seeing her the way she was, I found it quite upsetting to be honest. But
Agreed,
Yeah.
agreed. The
I
Lucy
didn't
thing was
enjoy
so
watching this.
drawn out that
Hmm.
it kind of
And there was just
it
no
was
one there. There was no one helping her. I was like,
yeah.
fucking somebody, even an
That's the
aid
thing.
station person, run over, give
Suddenly
us some.
she was all over the place. It was like watching a that sort of that scene from the Bambi film where she's on the ice, you know, legs
Mm.
everywhere, unable to stand up, and it was like, fuck's sake, somebody step in here, and there were people around, and you're just like, come on, somebody, because I know that the all that's going through those people's minds is I can't interfere here because she's an
It's
athlete
a
doing
race,
her
yeah.
thing. God damn, it's hard to watch, isn't it?
What I did what I did hear via the live stream, and I don't know how well it was heard, was I'm pretty sure I heard her say like I'm done. And
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
did.
how
I
I don't think
want
that
it
was
to be
like
done, or I want to be
yeah, I,
done.
I want it to be done. And what I kind of took from that was that like yes, she has got to the point of no return and completion of this race, but she was also still cognitively aware enough to say like I cannot carry on.
Mm.
And like I think that in a weird way, that's kind of like it was quite nice to hear that because it's like, well, okay, she hasn't got to the point where she's blacked out and she's just like,
Yeah.
you've seen like the Emma Pallant Brown from Miami a few years back where she was like lying on the blacktop. We didn't get to that phase, which I think is, I'd never want to see an athlete get to that point. So that was in a
Do
weird
you,
way nice to see.
and again, I'm not sure. Have you been to Kona, Andy? Have you been there before?
I haven't, no, no.
So the point where I've been there a couple of times, and like the Queen K is a lonely, desolate. I mean, you can see on the broadcast, but I think the spot where Taylor pulled off is there's like the turn off where the bike goes back down, but then there's this slow grind up to the top of Palani. And it's actually where the sort of first signs of civilization are again, because all the way to the airport is there's nothing. On the other side, there's a bit of stuff, but there's nothing. And do you think, and again, I think I sort of know the answer, but it's a good question to discuss anyway. If she had have made it to the top, even in the state she was in, do you think the crowd would have carried her the rest of the way?
Oh,
No.
that's such a yeah. But then also but then you've also got gravity, and,
Yeah, yeah.
but I it's gutting because what was it? It was
3K.
39 points something, yeah,
Yeah.
3K to the finish.
39.6 or something. Yeah.
And I
But
think
didn't
you
that
you
take fucking ages though? It was like 3K, but I swear I was sitting on my sofa necking Red Bulls, just going, it's been 3 point something K for so long.
well, yeah.
Especially when after Taylor pulled out, we all sat back and went, oh, Solveig's got this then. Nothing's going to threaten that lead. Fucking, and then it got stressful, didn't it? Jesus Christ, have I ever been? I was on the edge of my seat, mate.
What always amazes me, and you guys could yeah, maybe attest this, is that how does someone from the UK run so fast in a climate so unlike the UK? Because we've had it in the past, like David Macknam was on 2:45 and getting third, and then you've got Cat now running 2:47, breaking the run course record. The Brits
Well,
Brits aren't built to run in
I'm going to
Kona.
refer back to something I said in the episode before Kona, which was I said I've done many races with many friends, and me and one of my friends were having a discussion a few weeks ago about whether you'd rather be the chased or the chasee or the chaser. And I think I said last episode that I would if one person's going to be chasing me, I wouldn't want it to be Cat Matthews because there's a belligerence there that it was nail biting because obviously we've skipped past the bit where Taylor pulls out. We're hoping she's got appropriate medical assistance by the side of the road. Solveig goes by, shouts, "Are you okay?" And everybody's screaming at the TV, "Just keep fucking going." So she keeps fucking going. And and then you're thinking, well, look, the gap back to Cat, that's significant. There's
Was
no
it two
chance.
minutes? 2 minutes, 4 minute,
It
Two and
was
a,
50,
two
something
and a
like
something
that.
like
It was
that?
a
half.
bit.
Yeah.
Well, it was
Yeah.
3:45. It was 3:45 on the timer
Let's have a
when the
look.
drama started. It was about 3:45, and then the next time gap brought it down to 2:40 something, and then it started whittling away. And Cat was shifting, eh? She was shifting.
But it's yes, Cat was shifting, but it is also almost at the moment Solvay passed where Taylor was down. Honestly looked like Solvay's run form went to shit at the exact same moment. It was this bizarre thing where I mean, to be honest, the fact that we're 50 minutes into this and we've barely talked about the winner of this race, I fucking find
Well,
hilarious. But no,
it shows
exactly
how much bigger percentage of this race we
correct.
thought she was going to be the winner for.
But honestly, it honestly looked to me the second she passed Taylor that the left leg started to like flail
I
out
mean,
a lot more as she
she's
was
got
running there.
distinctive run gait, and that's fairly standard. She's always got that flick out.
Okay, does she?
Everybody has
I didn't see
different.
enough of her on the broadcast to know
Yeah,
this.
every single person has a different
Yeah,
way
yeah.
their foot connects with the floor. It kind of is what it is. There's no fixing
But
that.
she looked like she was
And
struggling.
but then yeah, it as she went past Taylor, it was less about the flick of the heel and more about, like you say, she kind of
Punched.
dropped a little bit, and it looked like suddenly it became a real effort. Now, let put yourself in her shoes. You're in the Ironman World Championships for the first time ever. You're doing your third Ironman, and
Yeah, third, yeah.
suddenly you're in the lead 3K from the finish. Like that's going to hit you as a wave in that moment. So like I
The
But
can
also
other,
imagine.
how she got there, yeah, like how she got there going from coming off the bike in third, running comfortably in third, thinking that she's going to podium her first world championship and being kind of really content with that as well. I think she mentioned numerous times like she thought a podium was kind of like, the A standard.
what
So
I
she
expected. That's
suddenly
what I
finds herself,
expected. Yeah.
yeah, she finds herself in second. She's like, oh, brilliant, second's even better than third. And then all of a sudden she's a couple of K from the finish, and all of a sudden she's got the pinnacle of long distance triathlon in her fingertips. And I think I'm just like putting myself in her foot, in her feet, in her shoes,
Position. Yeah.
in her shoes, and I'm just thinking like the weight of the world must be on her back on those final 2K, because you've never expected to have this, and now you've got everything to lose.
Yeah.
And then presumably someone tells you Cat Matthews is gaining on you like a
30
fucking
seconds a
steam
kilometer.
train. and and it's going to come down to probably a sprint finish.
Mate,
Good luck.
it's well, the interesting because one of the things I've noticed, and there's when we talk about Hawaii, and something we've done very well at not talking about this episode is the history of the place, the history of Hawaii, the history of this iconic course. But one of the, like the fact that all four Norwegians have won their Ironman World Championships on debut, like, not that long ago was almost impossible, right? There was an outlier who'd done it before previously, and now they've all four done it. But one of the other like rules of Hawaii is whoever gets to the top of Palani first wins the race. Like that is one of those cast in iron guarantees, or not guarantee, but it's like part of the mythos. I did not think it was the case this year. Like, I honestly was. There was that point where once Solveig got to the, but again, once Solveig got to the bottom of the hill and it was heading back towards where you have to take the right hand turn. I thought she looks fine. Kat was still running up to the top of Palani. But then when the way Kat Matthews went down Palani, like the fucking what is it, the T1000 or the Terminator, like it was madness. And then
Yeah.
the way the cameras work in it's at the Kuakini Highway, I think, or whatever road that one is, because it's so samey, you couldn't really gauge. You couldn't
No.
really
There's no
gauge the gap
landmarks, so
between them.
yeah, there's no
Yeah, yeah.
landmarks to see
There's
where they
no
were.
landmarks.
Yeah.
There was a
Fuck,
point
man.
where the commentators said she's within 150 meters of it.
Yeah.
And I went, well, that's it
How?
then.
It's
Yeah,
over.
she's fucked, didn't she? She's within 150 meters. That's line
I
of
saw,
sight. That's
I saw her high fiving people down a Leahy Drive. I was like,
I
don't
know, so did
fucking
I. I was
high
like,
five him. Keep running.
stop,
Don't stop. What are you
stop,
doing?
stop celebrating because she might go past you on the line. Now look, Solveig held on, and Kat did a truly remarkable end of run to get as close as she did to winning that race within 35 seconds. Um, and then Laura Philipp obviously rounding off the podium.
He makes it sound so
I
exciting,
think
doesn't he, Andy?
Yeah,
I
just
think
just the
this
anticlimax.
race, hey, look, you gotta
And
bring
then
it
they
down.
finish, and
And they
then they cross
finish.
the line.
And we crown a new Ironman World Champion.
I think
You should work
this
for Ironman,
race
mate.
will now this race will go down in history as one of those races that constantly gets remembered.
Greatest
We
Ironman
have
World
many,
Champs I've ever watched. I'm ready to make that
yeah,
claim. I think this is the greatest Ironman World Championships I have personally ever watched. I also probably believe it is probably the best one we've seen.
and we said that
Um,
about Nice. I mean, what a
yeah.
year it's been. We
This
said
makes this
Nice
makes
came
Nice
along and we
Nice
said that's
Nice was
the
boring.
Yes, Nice was boring compared to this. This was the most like I said at the start. I was so edge of my seat, screaming at the television at the last bit. Like it was absolutely diabolical. I just I came away from this going, fuck, triathlon's the greatest sport in the world. Like, you know,
you try finishing the broadcast at 2:30 something in the morning, having had about 6 Red Bulls to keep yourself awake during the opening of the marathon, and then trying to go to bed. It took me a long time to get to sleep.
and then obviously Laura Philipp came across the line in third place. Um, I Look, one of the things that I saw, I can't remember who said it in our Patreon group, but I thought this was such a, let me find it, was a really good analysis of the race. Firstly, what a performance by Solveig Løvseth. I love it. But this summary I thought was pretty good. Let me find it. Where they said it was like a Greek tragedy. Um, Sorry, where is it? You guys talk, I'll find it. Keep talking among
So,
yourselves.
what were your takeaways, Andy? Now that we've done the
So
finishing,
I was just looking at again, still looking at the the tracking app and just seeing the splits and the results. And I think the more I look at it, the more I look at Laura Phillips' result, and I think it's always difficult coming back as a defending champion. You know, you win. I know she didn't win it in Kona, but she won Nice last year. And I think you then, yes, you have the pressure off in the sense that you have been or you are the previous world champion and you don't necessarily need to get it again. Obviously, you would like to. Um, but then also I think the expectation from others is pretty high. So I think to come back and to have a very solid day and come third, I think, hats off to her. I think it's still a great result. And I'm not sure, I couldn't really read if she was that happy with it, but I think she probably will be quite content. Um,
I think
what's your thoughts on that?
one of the interesting things now because of the way that we've split the world championships is we have this phenomenon now where you come to a race like Hawaii and it feels like you've almost got two defending champions because you've got Lucy who's defending the Kona win, and then you've got Laura who's the defending world champion. Like that's an interesting perspective on it all. Like I didn't think I anticipated that being, I guess, a side effect of the rotating world champs. But it did feel to me like going to this race, there was two defending champions a little bit. Um, and interestingly, right, I feel like there was probably more pressure on Laura than Lucy, which I also found a bit odd. I mean, I think that yes, it was solid, but I found the thing I was going to say, and it's sort of, I just want to say it because I talked about saying it. But this is one of our patrons, and they said, amazing race, more of a Greek tragedy than a feel-good thriller. Only 3 women really raced all day with the intent to try to win the race, yet 2 will never be seen on the official records. For them, Taylor was number 2, Lucy was number 3, and as a good day for Kat's run, she never influenced the race, and Laura was simply the second best of the rest. Now, it sounds harsh, but I do actually think that if you look at the race, it did feel like they had, and look, until the last couple of K where Kat absolutely, you look at her splits and it drops to like 3:30 for the last couple of K, which is crazy at the end of an Ironman in Hawaii. But it did feel a little bit like they'd all resigned themselves to the fact that they're not going to win the race. We're just going to, you know, ratify our position a little bit because the gaps were quite big. But I would say I was a little disappointed with Laura Phillips' performance. I think because of that, because I do think I expected her to influence the race more. And like everybody who wasn't part of that front three, really, she didn't really feature. You saw her a few times running side by side with Kat until Kat dropped it, and then we didn't really see her on the broadcast again until she crossed the line in third place. So it felt more like others lost. No, that sounds unfair. it felt like others fell back rather than some people moved up, I suppose is what I'm trying to, I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think with a beast like Kona, and you hear people say it over and over again, that if you want to get in the pro side of the sport, if you want to get a top 10, your best way to race it is to do your own thing in terms of, obviously swimming where you swim, but riding power that you can sustain and not spiking too much, and then just running a solid marathon. And if you can put together a solid day and not take any risks, you can potentially, if obviously if you're the caliber of athlete that's good enough, make a top 10. Um, but I think the thing that's always very true is that the winner, especially, is always someone who does take a risk.
Mm,
And I think when you take a risk, you are kind of making a deal with yourself that this is either gonna really pay off or it's not gonna be my day. And I think that for me is what the sport's all about. I love people who are willing to risk it all. Um, and I think ultimately, if everyone just went out and had like their best day, pushed the power that they know they could push, and just run a solid marathon, it would be a
boring.
pretty boring watch.
Yeah.
We need these dynamics. We need a Lucy Charles off the front of the swim, drilling the start of the bike. We need a Taylor Knibb who's, you know, got ridiculous power, probably more power in her legs than most pro men as well. Um, Without these dynamics, I think that's why I think we're so excited about we were so excited during this race because of those people who really lit it up. They kind of created the stage for, a Norwegian champion, which is still absolutely mind blowing because I think,
I'm just
what we
looking at
had.
her PTO page. She's ranked eighth in the world. She's only got pro results from 2023 and only won in 2023. So really, first year of solid pro racing in 2024.
Long course, because she was
Long
she was
course.
short
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm talking solely long course. And then 2025, it's like I said, this
Just
is a
starts
third
tearing, yeah.
a third full Ironman, third in Ironman Hamburg, first Ironman Lake Placid, and then first Ironman Hawaii. Kona,
It's
world
the,
champion.
the parallels between her and Casper are quite crazy. Like they're so similar in their like the both of them short course athletes, both of them, had that career. Both of them have started to step up to longer distance. Both started to do Ironmans this year. Both were like, you know, people that we could see doing well, an outside chance to win. But I just think the parallels are absolutely nuts that the two of them have done almost the exact same thing. And yeah, mate, yeah, I just absolute credit to her. I feel like her life is about to change. I think somebody in the WhatsApp group said you're already seeing she's getting new sponsors coming on board.
Yeah,
Like this is,
and like you said, I'll echo that. Like, done similar things, but also, I mean, the race Nice and Kona were very different, and they were
yeah,
different for different reasons, but they approached it in a similar way.
mm.
Casper and her, they raced their own race, and they raced through the field and watched other people having their little dramas around them, and just kept on going.
She
Just
did make the attack on the
yeah.
bike. I think the one thing that I do like about her is that she did take that risk on the bike to ride solo. But yeah,
Like
especially on the
in her
run.
own words, kind of accidentally.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Well, guys, we're good for time. So, is there anything else we want to say before we wrap this up? Final thoughts about
We
the
got
race? Any final performances that we just want to highlight, or I'd like.
So I wanted to jump in and just highlight the two recent mothers who
Yep.
came back. So Holly Lawrence, who finished in sixth, which is incredible because I think her child's not even a year old yet.
Mm.
And then also Sky Monch, who
Yes.
I think about is it 8 months or 9 months ago she had a child.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
to see her, this was her first race back, and to see her come 21st. Um, I know she knows she can do a lot better than that as she has in the past, but to do that off the back of pregnancy, I think that's exciting for her next season for sure.
Jimbo, anyone you want to? Yeah, anyone you want
Yeah,
to
I was going
highlight?
to say Holly Lawrence as well because she kind of had a stealth race. You didn't see or hear much from her as the race unfolded, but then just to finish sixth, really strong, really strong. Obviously, this kind of race suits her. I also want to highlight India Lee because she was in a really good position, had a puncher, and never really clawed her way back from that.
The two that I want to highlight firstly is Hannah Berry, fourth place for Hannah, exceptional. Hannah is such a Kiwi athlete. I know Hannah a bit. Great performance for, again, very unfortunate. She literally did not feature at all in the broadcast. And I think that's just, again, as we've discussed. Probably a bit slightly opposite, an athlete that I was surprised by their race. I think I expected a lot more from them was Marjolaine Pierre, miles back. Just I don't know whether there was something that went wrong or she was sick or whatever, but like, what did she finish? She was bloody way down.
Way down.
30
But I
seconds.
think you've got to, if you looked at the dynamic of the race, following her via the tracker, she was one that came out of the water with that Kat and Laura group, and she just went absolutely nuts
Backwards.
on the first
Oh, did she?
phase of the race. She broke away from Laura and Kat. She was 45, 60 seconds up the road, and I think she potentially maybe went a bit too aggressive, and maybe
Okay.
that was a detriment. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of her day, but from an outsider looking in, that's seemingly what happened. And hats off to her for she put the hammer
Try.
down and she
Yeah.
gave it a go. Yeah, so I Kona's a beast, and I think that's you've always there's great athletes who have never had a great Kona, um, and I think it is one of those beasts that people can do 5 to 10 times and still never get right.
It's such a
Which
beast.
it's why everyone wants to keep coming back because it is that exciting.
Yeah. Well, there we go, guys. We've done it. We got through it. I know we're meant to talk about T100 and WTCS, but let's not preview it. We'll just review it next week, Jimbo. Um,
Yeah, there is. It's my I am on a come down from Kona, and I'm having trouble getting my enthusiasm levels up for Wollongong. But I'm sure by the time the weekend rolls around, I will have re-engaged, and I will have my T100 kit on, and I'll be waving the flag as normal.
You sound so excited about it.
I mean, this is Andy. I'm sure this is like peak excitement for James Bell. That's a 9 out of 10. One to 9 is very similar, and then 10 is a huge jump up. So that's a high
Yelling,
level.
yelling down the mic.
Yeah, going from 9 to 10 is like what happened to Taylor at the end of that race. It's
Correct.
quick, comes out of nowhere.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for joining us, mate. It is always a pleasure to have somebody on the show who actually knows what they're talking about. Gives us a little bit more legitimacy. If people want to check you out, find you, etc., where do they need to go?
Just on Instagram, so Andrew_H_T. And then yeah, pretty much anything I post is going to be up there.
Jimbo, if people want to find out more about us, where do they need to go?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, is it T414 on Instagram? I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. We are on Instagram as at Talking Triathlon. If you want to be part, if you do join the Patreon group and you do become a member, then you'll be part of the entire ecosystem, including the WhatsApp group, which is honestly, nothing's made watching racing better than that for me. If you're not a member of the Patreon group, though, and you want to interact, leave a comment on YouTube because that's where we're likely to see it.
Yeah, let us know your levels of excitement for T100 Wollongong this weekend. Obviously, it's the next big event. And then we turn our attention to Marbella 70.3. So looking forward to Andy. Thank you for joining us, Jimbo. Thank you. Talk to you later, guys. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, cheers.
Cheerio.